Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast. Signing day, recruiting capsules, class of 2024 signing today with the Buckeyes. Another highly rated class for Ohio State. We're going down the list as the LOIs come in. Going to talk about 10 minutes on each guy, watch a little video, just reminisce on the recruiting process and look ahead at what they might be bringing to Ohio State, maybe the situations they're walking into in Columbus, etc. And right now we are at Miles Lockhart, a 4-star corner out of the state of Arizona. Miles is a interesting prospect to me. You've probably listened to Bryce West by now, given that Miles is in a later time zone. But I think those are kind of similar guys. It's going to be interesting because, like, we know Aaron Scott's going to play outside. Miles and Bryce West are a little bit more versatile. I think Bryce or Miles could be a really good nickel, which means the other one's probably going to play on the other side of Aaron Scott. So it's going to be maybe some cross training here with Miles, learning to play outside and inside in the Ohio State defense. But this is a kid who I think is very well built, very well has the skill set of what could be a really good nickel type cornerback, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, Lockhart, when he came onto the recruiting radar, I mean, there were, is he being recruited on offense? Is he being recruited on defense? I mean, you look at him at corner, and, that seems to be a great spot for him. I think that he's somebody that does have that flexibility. He may not be the most of the three corners that Ohio State is looking to sign. I mean, is he the most athletic of the three? I don't know about that, but he's somebody who has great speed, great instincts, and I think is going to be very much in the mix with his capabilities. I mean, is he as fast as Bryce West? He's maybe a half step slower there, but he's still a 4-star. He's somebody who had a ton of offers, 24 plus offers out there. And for Ohio State to go out to Arizona to go land somebody and to be able to beat Arizona and Arizona State, who both offered, there's something there. There's something there that Tim Walton saw in terms of recruiting him.
Yeah, Arizona has turned into a nice little recruiting pool down there. The Scottsdale area is obviously blowing up, but the state as a whole has produced more and more talent seemingly every year. There's just a really solid area now for high school football. And so, Ohio State's tried to make some waves there. They've had some success there. Lathan Ransom, Denzel Burke, obviously. I think that's only going to help them as those two guys end up ultimately graduating to the NFL at some point. That's going to help Ohio State continue to go back into those high schools and land these guys. But, a nice pickup out of a nice area of the country. I think Miles can play on the ball outside as a corner. I think he can play in the slot. I think he can play like a safety nickel role. And boy, does he hit. He can really come up and punish ball carriers. Here's another big shot going over the middle. So versatility-wise, he may be the most versatile of any of the defensive backs, because I can project Bryce West as kind of being a slot guy, or maybe a nickel safety, whatever you want to call it. But we've seen Miles actually do it and really excel a lot in doing it. And I kind of like, how he was used in high school. You kind of play him a little bit more in the middle of your defense. It's easy to take a guy out like we talked about the Aaron Scott commitment one. Lakewood St. Edward didn't throw at Aaron Scott in the state title game. So you had him out there on an island, and he took away his half of the field, but he was hardly involved in the game defensively because of the game plan. When you put a guy in the middle of the field a little bit more, or at least over the tight end or something, you're putting him in a position to impact the game more. So I like how he was used there. I think that experience of safety, nickel, slot, outside, I think that gives him so much versatility and flexibility in the Ohio State defense. And just a really tough, hard-nosed defensive back. I really like Miles quite a bit. I think he's got a great attitude as well, and I think he's going to be a very good player at Ohio State.
Yeah, it's really easy for us to get totally tunnel visioned with West and Scott, because you have one guy that's a little more than 2 hours away, you have a guy that's an hour away, and then you have your third corner who is a couple time zones away. And while the state of Arizona, as you'd mentioned, really is starting to turn out quite a bit of talent. It's not quite to like a North Carolina yet, but I mean, it's an emerging state the way that North Carolina is, as we're seeing population shifts and things of that nature. I really like what Lockheart brings. I think that flexibility, that, versatility, as you say, is going to be big, because there are so many interchangeable parts. And if you can sit there and go and play 2 or 3 of the 5 spots of those roles there, that's, a quicker path to the field. That is, that gives you more potential longevity out there in terms of not being pigeonholed into like one spot.
Yeah. So another great job here by Tim Walton. Look, Tim Walton took maybe a little bit of heat early on. I don't think people were, over the moon about the hire necessarily. I think there were some doubters, some early recruiting stuff that, oh, you didn't get this guy or that guy. Look, that cornerbacks room is night and day to what it was 2 years ago. Tim Walton has turned the cornerbacks room around. I've said this on the air, and Scott, I'm going to say this again here. You want to get back to having this run of first-round picks, or this run of, DBU, whatever it is, BIA. You want to go back to that. This is how you do it, by restocking the cupboard with Aaron Scott, Bryce West, Miles Lockhart. I mean, 3 outstanding players. You've got, even if you get some bad news on the NFL decisions from a Lathan Ransom or a Jordan Hancock or a Denzel Burke, you still have Davis Igbinosun coming back. You have Jermaine Matthews, looks like a budding star. This thing's starting to get rolling, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, and I think as long as Walton and Eliano are not having to sit there and like recruit like family, friends, or cousins or anything like that, they're hitting really well. So, that was the problem, is that Ohio State had a couple-year period of where it was not going out and landing these types of players. And certainly geography helped with a pair of them this year. But, to be able to go into the state of Arizona and pull Lockhart is a huge get. Now you're really going to have that depth. And, it makes sense for Ohio State to have a strong secondary room based on year in and year out what you have in the wide receiver room. Because, okay, you're going to play 12, 13, 14, 15. I don't even know how many games with the 12-team playoff, however many games a year, but you're going to practice a crap ton. And if you're going and practicing against, these receivers that Ohio State has, it's only going to make you better. And, I don't think I'm really giving away Ohio State's recruiting pitch when it comes to, recruiting some of these corners. So, I mean, it's the right hand knows what the left hand is doing and vice versa. And
more so than ever now, you get to go against, if you're a 2024 corner, you get to go against the nation's #1 prospect in practice every day with Jeremiah Smith. So it's kind of it's reached fever pitch this year, obviously, with that type of recruiting angle. So yeah, they're rolling right now at corner. It's great to see them get back to, just if you grew up watching Ohio State, even in the 90s, like when the program was losing to Michigan more than it did in the 2000s, and was maybe underachieving at the national level, your Sean Springs, they always had corners, and it was just really weird to let, going a couple years back and then just having such struggles at the corner position. And so they've really tightened things up there, and you have to give a lot of credit to Tim Walton for that. But and then 2025, we won't derail this too much, but Devin Sanchez, nation's top corner, 5-star, built in a lab corner, deciding on January 6th. So not a bad time to have a nice run of corners and send a couple to the NFL, or have a couple on those NFL draft projections. So good time for the Buckeyes to be back in the BIA business. So we'll see how the rest of this class unfolds throughout the day. Keep it locked in here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle for updates. And thanks for watching, listening, and we'll see you soon.